Yeah, I can show you how to hook that up too on your boat.
Mm-hmm.
Like on Yellow Tech or Rams making stuff with GoPros now. You know, like see, like it's a recorder right now. We got tackle galore. So I'm here in Nashville and got my buddy Jayson here, and just want to say thanks for letting me come over and do a little interview. And we don't know where it's going to go, but
it's not often that I get a man of your stature into my shop. I mean,
you mean like real slow, like real tall, like short, like?
Oh no! Oh God, no! No, I mean, you always dream. What would happen if Brad Pitt walked in the door?
Oh yeah.
Well, Jeff Hawkins.
He might.
Jeff Hawkins just walked through the door. People can't see right now, but behind the cameras, the windows to the shop, and there's like 12 ladies out there. It's like Good Morning America.
Yeah. Just
TV
looking in and
just they're like, who's that guy? Who is that? So, but no, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. So I really didn't have any idea what to talk about, but
that's good. Some of the best sit downs are like that.
Yeah.
Agenda. I'm glad you asked me to do this because it's that time of year, and everybody always goes, well, my boat's not starting. Jayson, like, well, all right, I have a tackle shop.
Yeah.
I don't have a motor shop.
Yeah.
And they always ask me, so I always refer them to Jeff and so forth. And can you fix my rods? And I go, I can, but would it work the same? Probably not. So
You farm it out to like somebody that fixes that.
And I am more I want everybody to be doing well. I'm not here to take someone's business away from them.
Right.
Except, the big box store, but the big box store will always be there.
Right.
And so I'd rather deal with the local people, and I'm not here to take their business. So I always refer them out. Even for the smallest fixes, I refer them out because, I appreciate their business, and that's kind of how business works.
Yeah, exactly.
And there is a lot of people out there that just want to take that business, and I'm not one of them. I'm not a proponent of that.
Right. I think there's plenty of room for everybody.
Yeah. Yep.
There's no real need to try to boot somebody out. It's like you're not really getting rid of your competition that way. That's why I was always mad at Ranger when they destroyed all the champion hulls that they bought.
Yeah.
It's like, well, dude, you could have been, and still to this day, the best bass boat. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
Ever,
Yeah. And I love the platform, like the YouTube and the Instagram and so forth.
Yeah.
And the podcast, because before I opened the tackle shop, I'm a handy guy. I can, if I want to build my own house, I have the ability.
Right.
I'm not a motor guy. I am not. I am mechanically inclined, but when it comes to like motors and stuff, my family's really good at it.
Right.
I've never really had the time. I was always involved with sports, but I can figure it out. So I would go to YouTube channels just like yours.
Oh, everybody does.
And you know what? I ended up, hey, that's exactly what my motor's doing, and I would fix it. Well, now I don't have the time.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just going to give it to Jeff. Jeff, my baby's in your hands.
Right.
And what I appreciate about the smaller businesses is they can tell that you put a lot of time and energy in this boat. It's not a new boat, but you can tell by just looking at the wiring. You did it yourself. This guy did it himself. So he's got a lot of time invested in it. And that's like my wife, Jayson, we really need to sell the boat. I'd rather have an electric 4-stroke. It starts like a car instead of this 2-stroke, and they don't understand that. I have all girls. There's only 2 boys in my life, and that's my dog, my Cane Corso, and Finn, my boat.
Yeah.
That's my boy. I don't want to get rid of my baby boy.
Yeah.
But, so she quickly learned that, wow, that big motor on the back of a boat is what costs.
Yeah.
Are too. So, but no, I appreciate the platform, and a lot of people would rather learn to do it themselves. And it's people.
So tell me about the store, like how, what kind of people come in and what kind of clientele, I don't know.
Yeah, so the clientele, really basically for a shop like this, right next to the lake, live bait's hard to come by nowadays. I mean, some gas stations will have it, but the quality of it's not very good because they don't have someone dedicated to test the water, all that water, do a water swap, and it has a lot to do with getting your minnows or your shiners or your bluegill and all that stuff. So a lot of people just want to deal with it. So I'm one of the last few around, and I've always said, folks, you should up your price. Like, I'm never going to up my price unless my price has gone up, but I'm staying the same. But mostly my clientele is, I would say 70% is shore fishing. They fish from shore. I get a lot that I got done with work early. Like, I have a few clients every Sunday. I have 2 ladies, actually, every Sunday. They get done with church, and then they go out fishing for 3 hours. That's their time to decompress.
Oh, that's cool.
And they'll come in and they'll go, Jayson. And one lady, bless her heart, I think I might get worms today, but it's been a year now, but she just won't, she can't put the worm on the hook. So she said, someday I will, but it's okay. It's the fact of, you're bringing in the community, you're bringing in folks, and now do I get the big bass fishermen and all that? Yeah, I'll do custom orders for jigs. I have a Warren Brent out of Murfreesboro with Backyard Baits. He can make any jig you want.
Yeah.
And then the local people like Thunder Rocket, Wade Werner and them, and some of the guides, they'll refer people to me. I will get those big bass fishermen and those big crappie fishermen, and they're a huge part of my business.
Yeah.
But overall, it's a shore fisherman. They want to go out. Hey, I need a rod and reel for my son. And during the summertime, I get a lot of people over at the RV park that have come to Nashville to come visit, partake in the music and all that. And I said, well, they're staying at the RV resort, and they'll see the stripers and the bluegill and the crappie just biting, just hammering it out on the top of the water. And I don't have my pole, so I rent pole. I'm one of the few that will rent a rod and reel out.
Oh, cool.
And I do a lot of it for them, and they just want to get out. The big boat people, I'll get those string of folks in here. They'll come get their minnows. They're in and out and right off the interstate. But 70% of my folks are shore fishermen. They just got done with work. They're here on the weekend, want to go out, just want to relax, and so forth. And that's what it is.
So what, you have like minnows? Do you have any like gizzard shad or anything like that?
I usually carry the larger shiners, medium to large shiners, about 6-7 inches, up to 6-7 inches. Sometimes I get some really big ones. This time of year, sometimes I get some big ones for the people that want to go get the stripers and so forth.
Yeah, because that's what you need for the stripers.
Yep. And then Warren out of Backyard Baits, he'll do some big hair jigs for me and so forth. But then I carry a ton of the medium-sized minnows for the crappie fishermen.
Probably spoons too.
Yeah, spoons, I go through them quite a bit. Like this time of year, people will head out to Center Hill. I'm right out the interstate, so we grab the spoon. I had a gentleman in today looking for spoons. Well, I sold 2 cards of spoons yesterday, which was like 34 of them, 36 of them. So I'm out until my next shipment comes in. But it's cyclical. Like this time of year, A rigs will still work.
Right.
So I'll go through the Thunder rigs. I only carry a couple. I try and carry stuff that Bass Pros don't.
Right.
In the big box stores, because there a lot of that means I'm carrying a lot of local stuff, people that locally made. And if they're locally made, that means they work locally.
Yeah.
And really, like if someone wanted to come in there and says, well, I'm heading up to Kentucky Lake, I can kind of help you out up there. But anything outside of that realm, it's what I have works here.
Yeah.
So I don't need to carry that whole line of Zoom plastics. I just need to carry that one. Those
right, because it works.
Yeah, what works here in Priest.
Right.
Hickory,
and that's the thing too. You want to be niche where, hey, this works. I know it works.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
That's what I like about smaller shops. And like if you go to Bass Pro, like you can get lost.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like there's 40 kinds of hooks.
Yeah.
For a specific technique.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you really got to know what you're looking for. You know, where it's cool because if you're working with the local people or they coming in, then they'll tell you and you can pass the information along. Like, you could go spend your money on all these worms, but you can get this one.
Yeah.
And it works.
Exactly. And really, I try to keep it as such as, what worms are working right now. Whatever I have on the shelf is what's working right now, is what's going to work here.
Right.
Work at Old Hickory. Well, do you have this? Once in a while I'll get, like Andy Jeanette with TNT tournaments says, well, I'm going down to Alabama. Can you get me 4 packs of this? Well, on my next order, I'll order you 4 packs of that. So I'll do those custom orders for those folks and stuff like that. And like Wade Werner, he's going to Sam Rayburn for a tournament. Hey, can I get some of this? I'll order you some.
Right.
I have no problem ordering it for folks and so forth. But mainly what I have on the shelf is what's working here. One of those is going to work.
Right.
The only thing you have to decide on is, are you going out in the evening or when it's dark out, or are you going out during the day?
Yeah.
Pick the darker or pick the lighter color.
Right.
It's up to you. And so that kind of helps them too. And then I get a lot of younger anglers in here, and I really try and help those boys and girls out. I've teamed up with Backyard Baits. We have a lot of bags that we just hand them for soft plastics and jigs, because it's tough. Because as you know, fishing can be very expensive, and it doesn't go down.
Yeah.
It doesn't go down every year, and the kayaks are getting to be a thing, and it makes it more affordable for a lot of people.
Right.
But that doesn't mean the lures become more affordable. So you really want to get that age involved with it, because I have a ton of adults in here who says, I just want to learn how to fish.
Right.
They'll go on YouTube channels and I've seen them do this. I see them have this. Do you have this? And I go, yeah.
Yeah, along those lines, that's where I did with my business, where I was like, everybody's like, they don't know who to take it to, and they can't afford necessarily, the guy that owns the dealership down here, Same thing with your car. It's like that.
Yeah.
And
really a lot of the times I'm encouraging them, because they'll come in here and they'll be kind of discouraged about, well, I don't own a boat. They'll have that attitude of, oh, I don't own a boat, so I can't. And I tell them, here's the real difference of a boat. Unless you're out fishing ledges and you're going after the big ones, and you got your specific spots. A boat gets you 5-6 different spots in a day compared to a shore fishing. That's all it gains you. Because if you're just going to flip and pitch and do some Texas rigs, you can have just as good a luck from shore. Like you take some guides that come out now. Any of the guides out here they'll take you to the shore.
You don't have to be quiet. We know we're going to have customers come in.
Yeah, so even a guide can take you out and shore fish.
Yeah.
And they'll catch them.
Right.
Like they'll say, hey, go out to Chute's branch, throw a plum colored worm out there and you're gonna get it.
Right.
But a lot of the folks, when they go to those folks, they want to be on that boat. They want that experience, or they want to learn the electronics.
Sure.
That's why they have that guide. And the guide will say, you can catch them from shore.
Hey, I went down to Finn's and kind of did an interview. Like, it's the first one I've ever done. Learned a bunch of stuff. But what I was going to say is, the camera, I have a GoPro 12, and then I was using a DJI mic system. Audio was great throughout. Maybe not the perfect sounding, but it's good. It went all the way through. It's about an hour long, I think. And but I had them both plugged in. Like, I didn't have the DJI plugged into power, but I had the GoPro plugged into power. And at a certain point, it must have got hot. It's in a media mod, right? So it's not just, anyway, it got to a certain point, it just went black. So I'll leave the rest of this interview up if you want to listen to it in the background, but unfortunately there's no footage of it. It's almost like the lights were turned out and it's in I don't know, so it blacked out. And I had audio all the way through, but it's unfortunate. I guess it happens, and I learned from it, and so I guess I'm going to experiment more with this kind of stuff. And for now, if you want to listen to it, just keep going, and if not, then thanks for watching. Are you saying hello or are you yelling at me? I don't know. Here comes another one. I guess they're just having fun anyway.
I mean, there's a number of times where I launch out of Vivret. I pronounce it Vivret or Vibret. Where I will, you can kind of scan out there, you can see them hitting. There's been a number of times where I just left the boat on the trailer, and I take my girls out. We'll just go from the shore.
Yeah.
Or I'll go out there and I never even start up the motor. I just have the trolling motor on.
I mean, that's the back of the creek.
Yeah. Yep. And that's basically guys like our age. That's what we did when we grew up. We just walked back there, put some bug spray on, and figured it out.
Oh yeah.
Go to an old bridge and you just sit there and and that's even to this day.
I started out with a cane pole.
Yeah. Go get a big stick. Got some.
I mean, kids don't know how good they got it. Now they go get a combo for nothing.
And that's and people have asked me to take them out fishing, and I really don't like to, because all I do is untangle lines. So it's not really enjoyable for me, because I have a tackle shop. My enjoyment's here. But really, that's the funnest part about going fishing, is just, what?
Oh, there's a lot of levels.
Grab yourself some line and some hooks and some worms, and you just go out and you figure it out. You'll catch something. It's about getting outside and so forth. But I think we're seeing a trend here in society where people, and it was caused by COVID. Well, there's nothing to do but go outside.
Yeah.
People learn that, wow, that can be inexpensive, and that could make you feel really good. And there's a lot of people that are
when COVID hit over here along the whole bluff wall right here, it was just lined up with people. I went fishing one day because it was the only thing you could do, really. Get on your boat. I got on my boat. I didn't care. I didn't care about COVID anyway. But I went out there and we were lined up on the shore, and I mean, I was just like, they were just everywhere, all along there, all along that bluff, because there was somewhere they could go. It was something they could do.
That's really about, like, when you grow up, your grandpa, your father, I was involved with sports. My dad was not a fisherman.
Yeah.
The Martin families who taught me fishing Saturday morning, and
right.
they taught me even how to tie a double uni knot and everything. But it was a fact of you just got outside, and I was always an outdoors person, and I just loved getting outside, and that's kind of brought a lot of people back to a lot of the anglers, that I've talked to that come in here. COVID brought them back to why they really got into fishing, just to get outside.
That's true.
Because they got caught into that little, I'm in a Thursday night tournament, or I do these tournaments on the weekends, and all of a sudden, now you're spending money for entrance fees and so forth, and it wasn't becoming enjoyable. You're putting pressure on yourself. You see your neighbor has a brand new boat. Do I need a brand new boat? But then COVID came, and there's a lot of people that just got reminded why they started fishing. And it's just to get outside.
So you got minnows, you got, what about, and you got worms, I guess. What about like mealworms?
Mealworms, waxworms. The waxworms right now, they're kind of hard sometimes to get because it's still a little cold out. Yeah. Sometimes they won't throw them on the truck because it'll probably freeze on the truck where they're getting them from and so forth. But
But that's going to be a big player here.
Yeah.
2-3 months.
Yeah, I was able to get some mealworms in here yesterday. They're still waiting on the waxworms because those are still hit and miss. They're a little cold for them still right now, but here after we get the rain, we get to another 1 or 2 70-degree days. Those will.
I have a story with before I had a boat here in Nashville and I wanted to go fishing, so I went over there Hurricane Creek. Well, on the way I stopped at this place and I was going to get some minnows and stopped in there and I'm like, hey, you got any minnows? And he's like, oh, we're out of minnows. And you probably hear this a lot, but what are they hitting on?
Yeah, what colors they hitting on?
Yeah, so
it's kind of hard.
He's like, oh, we got mealworms. And I was like, and I'm thinking, this guy's just trying to sell his mealworms because, I'm like, all right, and it was real cheap. Mm-hmm. And so I said, well, just give me 2 of those. So I went down, and they were lined up down the shore. And so I'm like, I plopped down between them on my cooler, put on that mealworm and threw it out there. And I mean, it was no time. And I was really, I was like, oh, cool, I'm all smiling ear to ear. And I'm looking down and everybody's kind of looking at me funny, And then and I had a couple next to me with a little kid, I don't know, between 5, 8 years old. And then, there was just lined up. And I started catching them, and I'm just catching them one after another. And I'm just smiling ear to ear, and I'm throwing them back. And all of a sudden, I kind of looked, and people I guess they were getting mad. They were kind of leaving. I guess they thought I had the spot. Yeah. Right? And I'm like, I don't care.
I'm not
well, this little kid, he got upset. And he was like, he's catching them all, he's getting. And I noticed people were leaving, and I was like, well, what are you throwing, Because I was curious why everybody wasn't catching them.
Yeah.
Why just me? And so then he's like, well, we're throwing minnows. And I'm like, oh, well, you got the wrong bait. And I'm thinking, I got lucky, and that was God really showed up. But so I said, well, give me your pole, and I put a mealworm on there. I threw it out there, and that little kid caught a bluegill. He was so happy he got him one hooked and got it in. And I ended up giving him a bunch. But when I got done there, literally almost everybody had left. And I'm like, well, tomorrow you just go down to that store and get you some mealworms, Yeah. Anyway, it was luck of the draw is what it was.
Yeah, and I always tell people that they're, if you really want to increase your chances with bluegill or crappie, a lot of them will just come here and get minnows. I says, well, that's great, but if they're not hitting the minnows, throw plastic out there. You can have 2 lines out there, throw them out there. And I always tell people, I go, I would do both, because if one doesn't hit, the other one's going to hit.
Right.
Well, what colors? As well, right now, crappie are finicky. They'll tend to go to one color this week. Next week it'll be different. I had a few people in here yesterday. Says, well, they just got a live scope, and so I was watching them on the live scope, and I could see them on the live scope, and they would come up to it, and then nothing happened. So they weren't biting. I says, well, they weren't biting. They just throw a different color, change that color up, because one of those colors you're gonna hit it. And I'll start hitting that color. Like a more experienced crappie fisherman, they're going to have a lot of colors in their bottom.
Right.
A lot of colors. And some of the people just getting into fishing, they'll stare at that wall, that crappie wall, and then go, oh, what color do I get? I says, well, a crappie can change from day to day, barometric pressure. You got the sun, you got the overcast. It's just like right now.
The plankton in the water, I think, plays a big role.
Yep. Like right now, like a greenish, right? It's kind of tending to a blue color right now. That will change here this weekend. A couple weeks ago, week and a half ago, it was like a burnt orange color they were hitting on. Burnt orange to a green. Now it's going a green to a blue. And so I go, if you see them follow it up, change the color.
Yeah, I mean, they don't just eat shad.
No. Nope.
Like you get the fry from bluegill, and they're tearing them up.
Yep.
You know, and that's a lot of times those greens and browns and
It's like a mealworm and a waxworm. One will hit, one won't. One day to the other. And just some people like to go to that waxworm as their backup while they throw a plastic and so on and so forth. And like you did that day.
right.
Wax. It's probably been a while since they seen some waxworms. I'm like, ooh. Jeff's here today.
I
with
think
some
it was that
waxworms.
time of year too where they were bedding,
Yep.
and they were probably littered all the way down that whole wall. But just it was something they wanted to eat. Maybe it was their forage food. I don't know.
Yep.
You know, it's weird how color does play a role, because like I always say, like right now is the time to get February to catch the biggest fish you could probably catch,
Yeah.
I think. You know, like bass guys throw red crankbaits, red worms, red spinner baits.
You'll see them go to the creeks that are feeding the lakes too, because right now this time of year we're getting spotty rain, but we're getting good amounts of rain. So you got to track where it rained, what creeks are going to be running.
Yeah.
Go to those creeks,
Ditches.
because those creeks, they bring
Yeah.
all those grubs up, they bring all the worms, they bring all the plankton, everything gets churned up. So when you go to the lake, those little
Right.
mini deltas there are the ones that hit. Now, if you have a flat bed over here, like the southern part of Priest does, you can get them, and you don't necessarily have to be from a boat. As long as you know where those creeks are, go back in there and
Find the natural springs.
yeah, yep. Because that
Once
that water,
if you ever find a natural spring, or you ever see a different coloration of the water and it's stratiating, and you're like, why is that? It's moving almost like in a vortex.
Yeah.
There's an underground spring there, and that is going to hold fish, all kinds of fish, year round.
Yep.
Because the
Now-
water is going to stay the same temperature year round, summer to winter. It's a natural spring.
Yeah, and then plus with those natural springs and so forth, like this time of year, now if you're a shore fisherman, this time of year is when you should really go out and eyeball the area where you fish. Eyeball what's there right now, because that's what you're going to be fishing when the water comes up.
Right.
Now from the boat, if you're from a boat, it may be hard to get to those shallow spots, but what you're looking for there is you're looking for them little deep pockets, maybe the size of this table. It's maybe 3-4 feet deep, because it's just the way our land is here. You're going to have those little deep pockets. You're going to waypoint those pockets that are right next to those natural springs and stuff and so forth, because that might hold some little cooler water.
Yeah.
Or certain times you might hold some warmer water, and that's where you're going to, well, I got my 5 for today's poker run.
Yeah.
I need that big one. I'm going to go check that little pocket over there and see if there's a big one sitting in there just waiting for lunch. And
Yeah.
the good ones will notice those pockets. But if you're a shore fisherman, even from a boat, even from a kayak, now is the best time of year to go out, and you just eyeball
Mark
your
everything.
area. Mark everything.
It's above water.
Hey,
mark it all.
That tree was not there last year. Well, it's there this year. Where's it going to go to, and so on and so forth. You can.
Yeah, because you could go walk the shoreline and pick up literally a tackle box full
Yeah.
of stuff, and then a lot of it you'll start recognizing. Well, this is here all the time. This must work. And the same thing. Like you walk, oh, there's a stump. Mark it. Even if it's mentally in your mind.
Yeah.
You're like, I know there's a stump there, and then when the water comes up, you go, hey, I can reach that stump. Like bank fishing, when I was a kid, like it was one of the first things I learned is like, now's the time.
Yeah.
Really, now is the time, because when it comes in it, like you get all that pressure and everything, you know exactly where to go.
Yeah. I just
You
like the
know?
folks on Old Hickory, they'll go for the walleye and the sauger and sawguy and stuff and so forth. You'll run into some people. I'm just trying to get into it, so I got behind this hump, and you try and you tell them, says you don't want to be behind a hump. You want to be in front of that hump. The fish aren't back here; they're on the front of that hump.
Right.
They're just sitting there waiting. It's the opposite of what you think. They're sitting there. They got their lateral lines on their body. They're just sitting there judging the pressure, and they're grabbing their food. They're not on the backside. They're not ambushing. They're just waiting for their fish to come. But
right, that current plays a big role too.
Plays a big role, and they sit in that current. They sit on the front of that hump. They don't sit behind it. They're not taking a break. They're taking a break, but it just sometimes,
it's weird how they can just sit in one place.
Yeah.
And bass, like in particular, they're lazy.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And just like the newer folks getting into bass, and you tell them, remember now, bass doesn't have eyelids. No, they didn't. They go, no,
yeah.
They don't like the sun. Just remember, if you're squinting, they're not squinting. They're squinting. I go,
yeah. They like the shadows.
They like the shadow. If you can see something, they can see something. So you put yourself in there. And then a lot of the newer folks, they don't take the time to just go out there. If you're not in a hurry, if you're not in a tournament, what are the birds doing? What's nature telling them?
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of just putz around out there, just eyeball the sky. There's a lot of birds over there, like, well, they're feeding on something.
I cannot tell you, like, okay, so I grew up, when my dad, one of the first fish finders he ever had was a paper graph. He had a paper graph, I think it might have been Lowrance, I don't remember. And which is a funny story. Is later on I talked to him about that. He's like, that thing was the biggest piece of junk. He's like, they're trying to load it with paper and everything. But he's like, watching your birds, you're fishing along, and all of a sudden you look over and you see a raccoon. You're like, oh, he's looking for a crawfish. He's looking for something to eat. Same thing with other animals.
Yeah, right.
And like you can't find fish, just drive down the lake and find out where the birds are.
Like me
and
girls.
Then pull up there and figure it out.
Yeah,
because they're there somewhere. Because the reason the birds are there, they're feeding on something.
Yep.
And yeah.
Yeah, just like I'll go out in the middle of the night. Once in a while, I'll go out all night, because my girls like to do it. Most, every once in a while, I'll turn the spotlight on if I'm in a new little bay,
right,
or a cove. We'll see if we can count how many eyeballs we see. And they think I'm out there just counting raccoons, and I tell them, I says, no, I'm not. It's cool to count raccoon eyes,
right?
But there's people just down the shoreline camping. A raccoon's a smart animal. He can find food and get food however he wants.
Right.
Now if I spot 3-4 eyes down along the shoreline, they're catching crawfish.
Right.
I'm gonna go throw a football jig, a little hair jig over there, and I'm gonna,
chances are too, it's some kind of creek or ditch where there's constant water flow through there, and that's where the crawfish are in that mud.
Yep.
And it's all like kind of cyclical. Yeah,
and it kind of relates to, I was talking to a local pro. He does the bass tours and open, and we got involved with the conversation of live scope, because there's some leagues that they're going to have certain days where you can't use a live scope and so on and so forth. And,
right.
And their complaint was, well, this younger generation, they grew up playing Nintendo. They're really good at the live scope and the electronics, and I don't have it because I don't have time to learn it.
Right.
But and I told the gentleman, I says, well, I don't think that's an excuse why they're doing better than you, because your argument is they don't really know how to fish. If you take that away, they can't fish. All right. Back up a second. But you know how to fish without that live scope. You grew up knowing how to pitch and all that stuff. You should be doing better than they are, because you added to your arsenal.
Yeah, it's very subjective.
Yeah.
And it's like people speculate all day long.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, really, the number one thing is you can't take away from time on the water, because you may have gone a really long, hard road, but eventually you find them, you find the pattern, and then like you have the one day that you like you're like dream of.
Here's
You know what I mean? Like you just dream of that day and it happens.
Here's one thing that the younger generation has an advantage over those folks in my book. They don't have the patience. They don't have the patience that I have.
That's true.
So if I rolled up there, or this older experienced gentleman who's doesn't have the experience of live scope as that younger person did,
right?
And he sees them on, man, I see him on that live scope. He probably spends 15 to 30 minutes longer on that pile than that younger guy. That younger gentleman who just grew up fishing live scope, he's probably fishing more spots because you know what? No, there's no big one there. They can see if there's a big one in there, and if it's not, they're moving on.
Right.
Whereas an older gentleman, I'm going to fish this for a little bit. Well,
yeah, I'm guilty of that. I will take a lot more time.
It's kind of a good or bad thing, you know. They don't have the patience.
It is because
it kind of works in their favor.
Like my brother, he will, like, he's methodical.
Yeah.
I mean, he will pick it apart, and I'm like, I gotta move. I gotta keep moving. For me, on Percy Priest, the more I move, the more successful but I do get stuck in an area because I'm like, they should be here. I'm not figuring it out.
Yeah.
I gotta stay and try to figure this out, but you know, I'm like, I'm still moving faster than my brother.
Where I'll work a shoreline and I'll cast at nothing. So what I'll do is I'll back up another casting distance and I'll work the shoreline again. Well,
yeah.
I probably wasted 30 minutes or 20 minutes doing that again where some of that's not, they don't have the patience like I do.
But that's what I mean. Like if you're out there every day, then maybe you've done that homework.
Yeah.
To the point that you're like, I know where to go. I know what to do.
Yeah.
I know, you know what I mean? Like, but most people, like probably 90, even the guys that go do the tournaments and stuff, they're not fishing every day.
Yeah.
They're fishing 1 or 2 days, or maybe a day, or maybe every other week. You know, like, man, I'm telling you, with the pressure that you got now, that's gonna get harder.
Yeah.
And I don't care if you're crappie fishing or, you know, bass fishing. I mean, catching stripers. It's all relatable to what we're talking about. You know. But the live scope thing does give them another tool, you know, to help them, I guess. It's not my thing. It's just like Alabama rigs is not really my thing either.
Yeah.
I don't like throwing them, you know.
Yeah. You got, you know, even the bigger glide baits. You know, I have the bigger glide baits from Mean Mouth Lures that hand makes everything. People go, oh, it's for the stripes. I said, oh, smallmouth. Smallmouth to bite at. Oh yeah. And there is, you know, they want to learn how to throw a glide bait, and I tell them, I says, well, start big.
Yeah.
Start big. Well, why is that? Well, you got to get used to seeing how it moves. You got to get a feel for it. Then you can work smaller and smaller. And then I tell them, now it's an investment. Well, how's that? You go look at the price of a nice glide bait. I mean, those go up to thousands of dollars.
Oh yeah.
And you know, and that's not one of those where, Dad, I'm hung up. Should I just cut the line? No. You're gonna go get that.
Yeah.
It's not a crappie jig. I tie another jig on.
Well, you're spending that much money on one bait. And Percy Priest is bad because there's a lot of trees.
Yeah.
You know, I had a diver one time said that underwater it looks like a Christmas tree.
Yeah.
I'm like, really? He's like, oh yeah, they're just like.
Well, just like the cliff, the people jump off here at Percy Priest. And I'm guilty. I jumped off it, me and my oldest daughter. And then I ran into a scuba diver that goes and, you know, he'll go and find someone's phone or something. He'll go call out there, and he described, you know, underneath there, just not even 20 feet, pillars from an old bridge. And I'm not. I don't jump off the cliff anymore.
Yeah, I would.
Especially when you go over it and then you graph it down below, and like, oh my God, that was a dumb thing to do, you know. And we have enough depth here on Priest.
Yeah, there's a place over there
on
the other or this side of the Jefferson, or is that Jefferson Bridge? Or not Jefferson Bridge? Going over to towards Mount Juliet.
Oh, yeah.
But there's the island, and then there used to be an old bridge. It's in 50 feet of water. Even right now, it's probably 40 feet of water.
Yeah.
But it's great because you can see the whole thing. And it's pretty big. I mean, it's very big.
Yeah.
You know, there's all kinds of stuff in Percy Priest.
Yeah, and
you know,
and every time you have a good rain or something like that, something always comes up. You got to remember, there's hundreds of years people have been living underneath there before it got flooded.
Right.
All that still gets churned up. You have a fence post, you have this.
Yeah.
Everything always gets churned up, and you know, that's one of the reasons that I'm not a fan of just opening my motor way up. I'm not a fan of it because I've seen it where, and I just passed the submerged lock.
Yeah.
You know, and if I would have hit that, you know, you have your safety ropes on your motors. Not everybody has that, and it's.
Yeah, especially after rains.
Yeah.
It's really bad on Percy Priest. Old Hickory is terrible.
Yeah.
And like, it's very dangerous. People don't respect it. They just go out there and they go willy-nilly. And I'm like, this is a lake. It's a kind of a dangerous lake. So if you don't really know the navigation system, which was based on the Mississippi River, then you know you really need to like go and learn from somebody that knows.
A lot of people put a lot of trust in those navigational beacons and stuff and so forth, the markers. But
I don't know how they did it back in the day when my dad was fishing. I don't know how they did it. You know, because there's places on that lake where you would not. It's not. I mean, you're in 6 inches of water and it's nothing but rocks, but you think it's. I mean, you're 250 yards from the shore, you know, you think, oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, you have your navigational maps and your electronics, but I always tell my girls that if they're in a boat, it says never trust a buoy.
Yeah.
Never trust a buoy because, you know, you can anchor it as much as you want and there's always a sway, just steer around as much as you can. Even the navigational ones, people get right on the edge, like, oh man. And I know a lot of people will gripe about, you know, the safety classes and all that. I have no problem with that. I have no problem because a lot of people just don't understand how water works.
Yeah.
Even because my girls are good swimmers, I'm a great swimmer. I swim a lot, but I always tell my girls, if you're going to go jump off the boat, wear a life jacket. You don't know what's under the water.
Oh yeah.
And they even have a hard time believing that, you know, if a jet ski came by, a jet ski can create an undercurrent and pull you under.
Yeah.
And you never come back. And it's happened. It's, you know, because, well, the jet skis, you know, they're great, they're fun, but once you take that stupid pill.
Yeah.
You know, especially if you take
wear your life jacket and wear your kill switch.
Yeah. Well, I don't like wearing my life jacket because it doesn't show off my six pack. Well, I'll remember that when I'm burying you.
Yeah, but you know, like this time of year, you're on the lake and that water temperature, I don't know what it is, but I bet it's 40 something degrees still. And like you fall in that water, you got 15 minutes to get out of there, get your clothes off, and get some other clothes or something on, because
a lot of people don't realize that, like when you fall off, you have all the confidence in the world that you can swim back to the boat and pull yourself into the boat. But have you ever tried it fully clothed?
That's true too.
Have you ever tried it? You know, if you're wearing jeans.
That's true too, because
shoes,
you're in the wintertime and you've got full winter garb on and you fall in the lake and then you're trying to swim with.
Yeah, I challenge everybody. I challenge you this summer, go out with somebody, wear a life jacket, get fully clothed, wear your life jacket, and jump off the boat and see if you can pull yourself up. Not from the ladder, because if you can't get the ladder undone, you're just wasting energy and you're not going to pull yourself into your boat. If you have a center console boat, pull yourself, and you can't, there's a sign that,
I'm telling you, people do not respect it.
Confidence can kill you quicker than anything.
I mean, in a way, I do like some of those life jackets that are real, you know, they're ergonomic or whatever, they're real small. For the wintertime, my problem is they're all CO2. Make sure you check your CO2 and make sure it works. it's kind of hard to like, oh, I can't pull it because then I'm going to waste my CO2
I
bottle.
just wasted $39.
Right. So, you know, I don't really like them. I don't wear them. But just you got to be careful, man. Anyway.
Yeah. It's the best trust is safety.
Yeah.
You know, don't put your trust into an object or a piece of equipment.
Yeah.
You gotta.
Even at 16, you could be in danger. You may be able to be an excellent swimmer, but you got to be careful.
Especially this time of year, you know, if you have someone blowing by you, knock you off the front of you're out there fishing, and they knock you off, and now you got to deal with hypothermia. That can kick you in, and
right.
You got to be careful, and just realize. I know you have the confidence that you think you can pull yourself in the boat, but confidence will kill you.
Yeah.
Quicker than anything.
So gear, I mean, you got some cool, rods and reel combos.
Yep.
Lots of baits that I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, like for the catfish, I carry a lot of the mad cats and the meat hunters. I got some meat hunters coming in and stuff and so forth from High Water Outdoors. They're a newer company that deals really mainly in catfish. He's out of Oklahoma, and he comes in here once seems like every other month. Jeremy's in here, and I'm not, and I'll fully admit, I'm not a cat fisherman.
Yeah.
I'm not the expert. I always tell people, they'll ask, Jayson, how do I catch a catfish? Well, you come with me when I go crappie fishing. I know enough, and I'm going, I'm serious.
I've caught them on spinner baits.
Oh yeah. What do you throw? Just throw a jig. But they're after the bigger ones. They're up on Old Hickory and stuff and so forth. The big stripers up there. I go, like Tyson up there, and I go to those local experts. And there's nothing wrong with going to the guide service.
Yeah,
They go, well,
because they're out there every day.
They're out
that's
there.
Why that's what I'm saying.
Day. Yeah, and they go, well, I don't know if I want to spend that money. He says, well, tell your guide, if you go with Brian Carper or Finn's over there, which isn't affiliated with me, but Jeremiah, tell them what you want to get out of it.
Yeah.
He says, hey, I fish here all the time. Give me some pointers. And they will, one of Brian's guys will, Gordo or Wade or some of those, Steve, those guys, they'll give you some pointers of, hey, here's what you do.
Right.
Here's what you do here. Now, if you're going to go up there, they'll still give you some pointers. Don't just go there to sit on the back of the boat and, all right, I'm just going to throw this where they want me to throw it. Now, if you want to get something out of it, tell them, I really want to get this.
Right.
Some folks here, they says, well, I just got a live scope. I don't know how to work it. I says, well, you know what, go to a guide and tell them that's what you want. He might not even cost you that much. He might just go sit you on your boat. Here's what you got.
Well, and then too, they know they can refer you to like other people that'll they teach electronics.
Yeah.
Or I know some guides are doing this more where they're teaching electronics and taking you fishing.
Yeah.
There's like levels of it.
And a lot of those
depending
guys,
on what you can afford.
I could even say all of them. If you go out and you didn't have a good experience, they'll take you out again for free.
Right.
Because if you didn't catch any fish or anything like that, it's a waste of money. No, they will set up a time. They'll take you out because they want you to have that experience.
If they're any count, if they're a good guide.
And I haven't.
There are some guides I've heard stories that are a little dirty about their business, but for the most part, they run a good business.
Yeah, and those
know what I mean. They want you to catch fish. They want you to learn something. They want to. Yeah.
And everybody that I refer you to is like that. Like, if you didn't have a good experience, they're gonna set up a time. Let's go try it again. They just hey, it's fishing. They weren't biting today.
Yeah, because you don't want to recommend them to somebody that's just going to take their money and not have a good enjoyable.
I refer you to is like that.
Right.
And if they're not like that, I don't refer you to. Like Jeremiah is awesome at that. He can whatever you want, or any one of Brian Carper's guides.
I don't really know Brian, but I
don't know him personally either. But I hear.
I saw that he was.
I do know a lot of his the guides that will guide for him.
Yeah.
And they're the type of people that if Brian wasn't a great guy, they wouldn't work for him.
Right.
Like you talk to Gordon or Wade, they would be quick to say, I don't want nothing to do with you.
Brian, if you watch this, I really enjoyed like seeing you out on your boat, full of snow, out there doing it. And I was like, that's awesome. You know, going down the lake, and he's like, it's just, you know.
Yeah, people say, well, it's cold out there, fish aren't going to bite. Oh, they'll bite. I mean, it's been the middle of winter. I'll down a pizza.
Yeah.
You know, the fish will eat. They'll always eat. You know, I'm from up north, up in the Dakotas, and you know, the only bad time to fish is is it ice or not? God, I wish it would hurry up.
Those guys go out. Those guys go out there with modern electronics. Yeah. You know, fishing in a hole. That's freaking amazing to me. I've never done it.
The only bad time up there is if the ice isn't thick enough. Like, man, now what do I do? Well, I suppose I
guess you can't go. Yeah.
So, but no.
Well, I love the painting the mural on the wall in the bathroom. I thought that was great.
I do keep. Sometimes I get slow on it because I got to keep track of the Bigfoot sightings. I can only post the confirmed ones, and so forth. But no, it's the reason I opened the shop was I was getting burned out. I was dealing with the homeless. I was dealing with people that were suicidal, and I would go talk to them. And you know, I told my wife as well. And I really never used live bait. Yeah. So I go, well, I'm gonna go get some live bait, and this was during COVID, you know, well, towards the end of COVID. This was 22, that was a couple years after. So I'm just going to go get some live bait, and I go, oh, that's right, Starkey's is closed. And says, well, I'll go to Poindexter's or I'll go to Finn's. They're closed, like this. My wife goes, you know, I was thinking about doing this come retirement, and I'm 52 now. I was 50 at the time. There's just no place around.
Right.
You know, my wife, bless her heart, she's very supportive. She goes, well, let's just do it now. Let's just...
God led you here.
Hey, let's figure it out. Let's do it now. And
I mean, what an amazing location, really.
And that's really what drove me too, because I absolutely can't get any closer to the lake no matter where I go.
No.
I'm really right across the street, right off the interstate. I pay pretty good money for this spot, but it's worth it.
I love the lower end of the lake. Yeah. But I feel like up here is probably a little bit better fishing.
Yeah.
Depending on certain times now.
Yeah.
Certain times I'll go way back in the rivers, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll go all the way freaking to Murfreesboro. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I'll get back there.
You deal with one, you deal with the other, because if you know Big Charlie's is down there, they do good down there. It's a matter of getting through the traffic.
Yeah.
But up here, I'm right off the interstate. I get a lot of people going to Cordell, Cheatham. They'll pop in off the interstate, put them in oxygen bags.
I've looked at that Hamilton Creek a few times, and I really haven't fished it much. And there's some areas back there that I see that I'm like, man, I'd love to go fish that. It just seems like that would really.
It's a popular spot to go hit.
I bet.
Hamilton Creek,
because there's one area where I see them, and every day or every time I drive through there or whatever, or I stop in at that one boat ramp, I can look out. There's one spot, and I notice that there's shad there all the time.
Yeah.
Seems like. And, you know, sometimes it's like when there's like less shad, it's a little better, you know, than all the shad in the world.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to trick them, you know, and they know it's that, hey, right?
Yeah, and up like Hamilton Creek area, the big difference is if they're letting water out.
Yeah.
If they're letting water out, and all of a sudden you start getting that current. Now you get a lot of shore fishermen, because you know now the striper are going to run. Where you can go get them deep with the hair jigs and stuff and so forth, and you know you get the thump boxes going with the sound. But once that water opens up, and you get that lake level up, there's going to be rain. People, you'd be surprised how many people pay attention to the weather. They're going to open up the gates. Just that little bit of current.
Yeah,
really
when we fish, we call it the horseshoe back past Bait Sanders, where it goes into, you know, the east of West Fork, or not east and West Fork, but back to West Fork, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, and they start pulling that water. There's certain little places where you can go And it's like, oh, they like it here.
Yep.
They're comfortable here. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I don't know what it is, you know, but it's like, that's what it is.
Yeah, or if they're letting water out here towards the upper end, you can go where they call it the old schoolhouse. Where old schoolhouse used to be. There's some little shallow spots, but it's right on the deep ledge, and you can go
Probably multi-species.
Multi-species right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you can.
I used to come up here
drop
quite a
shot,
bit,
you can jig it.
and you know, smallmouth fishing, and because Priest has got some nice smallmouth.
Mm-hmm.
I wish that they didn't have the 18-inch rule and they'd stock it a little more, but you know, it's like it's kind of tough to find an 18-inch smallmouth.
Yeah.
I mean, you can, like we definitely can, but you know, if they were 15, they're a lot more prevalent.
Yeah.
You know, or slot at TWRA. I don't know, but it'd be better if it was
and
not 18
You can
inches.
understand their logic. They want to build that up, and it'll get better with that 18 inch. It just takes time. Just like the stripers, you know, you don't get the big stripers anymore out of Priest because it's always but you have a lot of good organizations like the Percy Priest Stripers Club. They go out there and they, or the TNT, all the clubs out there, they put a lot of money back into the lake because, you know, what's unique about
Yeah,
Percy,
they stock it up quite a bit with stripers.
Stripers and the food and all that stuff, you know, because what makes Percy unique is you're surrounded by all federal. It's all Corps of Engineers. You know, then you have the federal people out there manning the water, but, well, I need to have a state fishing license to fish on Priest. Well, the state probably doesn't put enough money into Percy because, well, it's federal. So, you know, it's clubs like that, like Andy Jeanette and Eric, you know, with the TNT, you know, a lot of the lights that are at like Long Hunter Ramp and stuff and so forth, well, the Corps didn't put them in. TNT tournaments did. You know, they took all the money they made from their tournaments and they lit the ramps up and so forth because, you know, for safety. And a lot of people don't realize that. You know, you should give folks like Andy and Eric all those. You should give them a big thank you because people, well, about time the Corps did this. Well, the Corps didn't do it. It's not like the Corps didn't want to. I've worked for the government a lot of years, and it's hard to even just get a new office chair.
Yeah, you know, I don't want to bust off on the Corps or TWRA, but Missouri is like the ones, because I've been on those lakes. They've got a fish cleaning station. Yeah. They've got like amenities where you can go to the bathroom. You know, they got boat ramps with nice, even when they draw it down, it's still got a nice thing that you can get into your boat
and
with.
You're kind of
you're
kind of they'll ask, well, why don't you have that? Because we have that small percentage of our population that would just destroy it.
True.
And it's, will we get there? Yeah, of course that's a goal to get there.
Right.
But you know, you got to have the funds, you got to have the manpower to man those, get them clean, and just keep the upkeep. Because like right now, people will ask Jayson, you know, where can I launch a boat close by? I'm just on Priest. I'm from Bowling Green. I just come down here and want to fish Priest. You know, where's a good spot? And I always for him, you know, where do you want to go? You want to be close here? You want to go to Vivet? You want to go to 7 Point Suggs Creek? I said, I really prefer close here. He says, well, go to the Sailboat Marina. Now you'll go in. Now you go to the Sailboat Marina, you can go straight into Hamilton. What can I do, Hamilton? I would never leave my vehicle at Hamilton boat ramp. Yeah. I go, even if it was a crappy vehicle, I wouldn't do it because your trailer might be gone.
Yeah, that's bad.
And I'm not being dramatic. It's just go to the Sailboat Marina. It's just there's certain spots where.
Well, even the one, where is that? It's, you know, like you take the left and you go back from Hamilton, you know, you go up to the stoplight and then you take a left, go all the way back there. That one's one of those too where. But, you know, that's just because, well, I guess we're in Nashville, you know.
Yeah, you're in Nashville, and really, they'll crowd those boat ramps because, you know, you look at the lake, there's only one spot where you can kind of go recreational, so that's Anderson.
Yeah, they used to be all like open to the public and stuff, and now they had to control that. Even, you know, I guess even at Elm Hill, you know, you
can pay to get in there to launch, but it's.
What about parking, like public parking?
Then you're eating up a lot of time because, you know, you're waiting in line. Now you're waiting in line to go get your boat.
Right.
Because I noticed last year a lot of the little party barges were launching out of Viverett, which is not a big boat ramp.
Oh, right.
And so the folks downtown, they would meet there to get on their little party barge, and the parking lot's now full of just,
I think in general,
Ubers and lifts, and it's
in general, like the population has grown here, so more and more they're just filling up.
Yeah.
With people either there in their cars or their boats, you know, they just are like. There's times when for obvious reason, you go back to Fate Sanders, you got a tournament going on, there's every slot full, you go across the river, and there's, you know, the little bit of river, and that's full, and then you go over to the other side there, like from Fate Sanders, it's full.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, wow, you know, and then that's when you start questioning, do I even want to go, you know, like, it's crazy.
So basically the fishing's, you know, a lot of people, I'll go out in the morning until I hear or see the first wake boat. Well, that gets earlier and earlier. Now you're off the water by 9.
Yeah.
And so forth. But there's a lot of good lakes around here too. You know.
Tennessee's loaded. It's almost like Minnesota, where they call it the Land of Lakes. It's like here, it's.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't realize. Well, Jeff's here. He's back there getting some bait. He has a YouTube channel. A lot of people don't realize all these creeks around here that you drive over.
Oh yeah.
Go wade them and walk them. You can get a 6-pound smallmouth out of there, and you're just wade.
They say like the Duck River is the most diverse ecosystem like in the United States.
Yep.
Like I'm like, wow. I looked at it. They have like a little mural with all the different all the different things, plankton and frogs.
And they're easier to fish because everything's programmed to hit up. You're not in deep water. You're not in raging water like the Caney after a good rain. Everything's programmed to hit up. You'll get the smallmouth. And if the Cumberland's up, it don't take long for that water to come back up.
Yeah.
You know, back up all the way to the dam. You know, then you get some trout, smallmouth. You get striped. You can get anything.
So that's only what I know is that, like they say, you know, Percy Priest, it's not like Dale Hollow or Bull Shoals where it's deep. Like there, it's like 600 feet at the dam. Here, it's only like 60. Some places maybe 70 feet deep. 78. So it's very shallow as river system.
Yeah.
And so their smallmouth, generally because of the thermocline, they won't really get very big here or real prevalent.
Yeah.
So I guess that's why one reason they have the big 18-inch rule, because it can only support so many anyway.
Yeah.
You know, which I feel like it could support more, but I mean that's just they know they're the scientists.
It's a trade-off because, you know, Percy Priest is one of those hidden gems where everybody talks about go down to Alabama and go catch some big crappies, and the people that will fish Percy Priest, the big crappie fishermen, will tell you Percy Priest is not far off.
I've caught some giants out there.
Is not far off, and they just kind of want to keep it on the down low because Percy Priest can, man, if the crappie are hitting.
I mean, I've caught 14, 15 inchers, man.
Yeah.
And they're, you know, that's big.
Yeah.
You know, that's a big crappie, you know.
They can put out some crappie here.
I've seen some that have come out of Normandy Lake that are giants.
Yeah.
I mean, just giants, you know. I don't know I don't fish that. That's a beautiful lake.
Yep.
I don't fish it. I've fished it only a couple times, but you know, Priest is definitely like, my thing with Priest is like, I'll go out, I'll catch one of those, and I'll try to catch some more, and I can't catch any. You know,
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
wow, it's just a freak thing.
Yep.
You know, that lake is weird like that. It's even with bass fish, it's very, like, you know, oh, I caught one, you know, and then you think, I'm on to something. And then, you know, you're like, you only catch one or two. It's like, it just shuts off. And you're like, man, that was very random.
Yep.
You know, to figure out the random order of things, it's
Yeah.
like,
and as far as bass goes, it's, you know, like this time of year, you know, for the next couple months, 2.5 months, it's right up there with anybody else, because some folks, if they don't follow the Bass Masters, you know, Percy Priest has had the Bass Masters Classic on.
oh yeah, yeah. I look
Granted,
up.
it was the second one, but you know, even back then when they had it, I think it was impounded just only a few years before that, and they were getting good size. Like right now, if you go out there to a tournament coming out of Fate Sanders, you'll see a 24-pound bag.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
the hammers on the lake, they generally are between 16 and 18 pounds.
Yep.
You know, 5 fish, and that's pretty respectable,
if someone
man.
dropped a 24-pound bag or a 26-pound bag, it's nothing like, oh man.
I think over the years, though, I've seen the
It'll
weights reduce.
Yep. On
A
an
little
average,
bit.
Average across, yeah.
Yeah, because I don't catch as many big fish as I had before. Although I think in the next year or two, we could see some, because it seems to me that the last few years you catch a lot of these 1 and 2 pounders, and I mean I catch a lot of them.
Yeah.
Right. Well, those fish they're gonna be the 3-4 pounders, and then in a few years they're gonna be the 4 or 5 pounders,
Yeah.
5-6 pounders. You're gonna see a lot more of those.
Yep.
And that's gonna be when people are really gonna probably really brag about this lake, because
Yeah.
it's gonna be, you know, what it is. Like,
And
it's a
really-
healthy lake. It's a
And
very
really-
healthy lake.
Really, what it's kind of odd, but what really helps that is these. Now, as far as traffic goes, like if you go in the summertime, a lot of the bass fishermen will come off the lake because there's just too many people on there, recreational on there. So
Right.
so that kind of gives them that little break. But it's a
Yeah,
it's
in
a
the
win
summer,
and loss, because you have the wake boats. You know, the wake boat folks says, well, we don't destroy a shoreline, and that means they just don't know much about nature and what a wake wave does to a shoreline.
Right.
But without them knowing it, it's keeping a lot of fishermen off the lake, and you know, and the kayakers are out there fishing, but the kayakers they're not hitting those many spots as a boat does. They're not destroying that shoreline, and so on a whole, you'll see a lot of kayak fishermen. They're just like a regular bass fisherman. They catch the bass, they measure it, they take their picture of it if they're in a tournament.
Right.
And they're taking care of it, and they're throwing it back. They're not pulling them up from 30, 40 feet, you know, putting some weights on it, or, you know, trying to air them up. But
Not to bust on you guys that are kayak fishermen, but if you are, please stay closer to the shore. Don't be out there in the middle of the channel, because it's tough. We're running down the lake at 65 miles an hour, and then this guy's sitting out there like, you don't have a whole lot of reaction time to, like, even in a day like.
I'll speak on behalf of the kayakers and say, why do you have to go 65? And two,
because we have a need for speed.
yeah, but a lot of those fishermen, they get put into that. They put into that the category of the recreational kayakers. I have never met a kayak fisherman that doesn't have a flag or doesn't. You know what? It's getting
I
dark
probably
out.
haven't
I
either.
shouldn't even be out here. But you'll get the people that'll rent those kayaks. They're out recreational. They'll go out to the little camp out on an island all day. Well, it's 10 o'clock. Let's go home. How about you?
Well,
not?
there are rules that they can't be out after a certain hour.
We all follow the rules, don't we?
Yeah.
I mean, they're out. I mean,
Yeah, I sped on the way
I've
over
even
here.
seen people on paddle boards just going across the lake.
Yeah.
And it's dark as night. Like, what are you doing? You mean, well, I had a flashlight. Well, what do you do? I mean, I thought that was a street light 2 miles down the road. But, you know, everybody.
I had a
It
couple
all
of
comes down to
ladies.
common sense, and people they forget the.
I had a couple ladies that were going to the little island, on pull knobs from Fate Setters, and they were just going to kayak over there. But I got off because I know that it's getting ready to like pummel rain.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be pretty windy. It's going to be bad. And I'm like, hey, you guys may want to think about this because like the storm's coming in. And they're like, oh yeah, it's fine. And I watched them. They got in their kayaks and they went over that island. Neither one of them had a life jacket on.
No.
And I mean, it was pouring down. And I was like, I can't believe it, man. So
Yeah.
that goes back to our safety thing too, And I was like,
Yeah.
anyway.
And I feel bad for the kayak fishermen because they get thrown into that spot of, and I've even heard people refer to them as either a lake wart or a lake roach. Look at all the roaches out there. I says, well, what are you doing that's so beneficial? I mean, I just picked up the garbage bags that flew out of your boat because you're going 70 miles an hour. Oh, I lost my hat. Well, no use getting that. Well, thanks. I'll go pick it up for you.
Right.
So it's,
Yeah, I pull up a lot of line.
Yeah, don't
And
tell
instead of throwing
skunkies-
my line back in, bundle it up, put it in a little trash bag or something, and then take it with you.
Don't tell a skunky stinks when you haven't showered in a week. So it's
Yeah.
just be careful. But it's everybody. If we want to end it with this, everybody, a fisherman, an angler. If you're a true fisherman and angler, you respect the water that you're on.
Absolutely, I agree with that.
You respect the vessel that you're in,
Right.
and you respect the people on the shoreline. It's just like everything else in society. There's that one small percentage that just gets you mad at them. And either way, because they don't have the respect for nature, they don't have respect for their fellow angler or person out there trying to enjoy the lake. Because every fisherman knows that lake is not just there to fish.
Yeah.
Because they like to go swim too. And, they have grandkids they want to go out there. They have nieces and nephews. It's just the people that don't respect it, and the people that'll go on the shoreline and fish the shoreline, be a shore fisherman, they won't pick up their garbage.
Oh, yeah,
There's
it is
glass
bad.
broken. It's sad that we have to organize groups to clean that up.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
You can't keep up.
No, you can't.
It's, that's the only
They
part,
make
but-
campsites and then they just leave it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of Percy Priest, because it's a federal,
Yeah.
they can go and camp on the islands, and they can go, and they have things each year where they get volunteers and the TWRA with their barges, and they go out to the islands, they pick up the trash on the islands, and they haul it back, and it is a lot of trash.
It's sad.
And
You
they
rely
do
on-
not pick up people. They go out there. They don't pick up after themselves.
Yeah.
They just I don't understand it.
And
I really don't.
it kind of makes you angry because we have to organize groups of kids, whether it be a Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts or
Right.
charter this. We have to organize kids to go out there and clean up after us.
Right.
I find that's embarrassing. So we'll form a team together to go out there and pick up the shoreline. But just tell those people.
It's the same thing as people driving down the road in their car and they throw out the McDonald's bag.
Yeah.
It's like, dude. I watched the guy one time. He pulled up when I used to eat crystals. I don't anymore, but I pulled up there and I'm behind a guy and he pulls up to getting his food and he just throws his trash right out there at the door.
Yeah.
And I was like, what in the world, So then I went up to the lady, and I'm like, man, that guy. She goes, I know it. I can't believe it.
Yeah. It's there'll always be that part of society that just makes the area seem ugly, but
It's not fun for you and me.
But fishermen, whether you're from the shore, if you're a true fisherman, if you're from the shore, from the boat, from a kayak, you always try to leave it cleaner than it was. And all the true ones, I will see them stop in the middle of the lake and grab garbage out of the lake and stuff and so forth. But I've even seen some folks on jet skis. They'll stop and they'll pick up the garbage. You know what? And if I see them at the dock, I always say thank you. I appreciate that.
All the parks have, even the walking trails, they have trash cans. You know, just put it in the trash can.
Yep.
It's not that big a deal.
One more thing I want to talk about, and that's the boat ramp. And there is an angler on that's watching this that will disagree with me, but I want to drive it to the folks that are trying to back up their boat for the first time, but they're not very good at it.
Yeah.
Okay. Like my girls, backing up a trailer to a lot of people can be very, very intimidating, especially when you have a full boat ramp. Now my girls have gotten to the point where, yeah, they can start the boat and they'll back it up. My wife will back the boat in. She'll even pull it around, pull it in, back off the trailer, which is nice because I don't have to get out of the boat now. I don't have to go back up the trailer. But I always told my girls, and I've always told other people this: if you're at a boat ramp and it's busy, and you see a guy behind you got a big old bass boat and stuff and so forth, and if you're sitting there at the boat ramp, you can't get it backed in. It's a 2-lane boat ramp and you're taking up both lanes and you're struggling. He's getting angry. Now listen. If you get out of that vehicle and you went to that gentleman waiting behind you in that big nice boat, big Lund, whatever, and you said, "Hey, I'm having trouble. Can you help me out?" There isn't a single one out there that would say that would be angry with you, because he was there at one time too. It's the folks that don't ask for help that gets everybody angry, and it just, so that person's angry, that person's angry, that person's angry. You know what? Go out there and just, "Hey, I'm having trouble. Can you either guide me or back it in for me?"
Right.
They would be happy as pink. They would. It's the folks that you just sit there and you just and you let it boil. Just because we've all been there. Just ask for help. Don't. And that kind of sets the tone for the rest of your day too, because you might need that guy's help. More often than not, I've seen people get towed in, that guy, well, there's that boat I helped out, or there's the boat that I helped out and I need help.
Right.
I'm waving them down. It sets a tone, because the worst thing you can have is 12 people at a boat ramp angry at each other, and it's
because the first thing you want to do is just get your boat launched, get gone.
Yeah.
And it really is tough when you see somebody pull up and then they back in, and then they decide to load their pontoon boat because they're going to go camp for the weekend, and then you're sitting there tying up the ramp for 30-40 minutes or an hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, you should have loaded it all up in the parking lot, backed it in, launched it, and then it would have been nothing but about maybe a few minutes for everybody to get on and get out of there.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, we're all waiting for you.
Because there's been times where I've just gone around and
I've helped people all the time, like they're having trouble getting it on their trailer. I see that a lot.
Yeah.
Like because maybe it's windy, maybe there's some reason, and they're just it's not going up on the trailer, and I say, "Hey, and I'll like hook them up." I've even pulled them out. You know what I mean? Like, you just stay right there. I'm gonna pull you out. Because it actually saves me time to try to help somebody do something like that, because everybody, especially if you're by yourself, it's not easy, to do it by yourself. Like, I've got Easy Step and I've got a Drado and I can automatically launch, and not everybody's got that. And so it does take time to do, and it's like you want to do it.
And you can tell when you go up to the boat ramp, because there's a brand new Hyundai Santa Fe pulling a 22-foot chaparral, because the guy said, "Hey, I have a 22-foot chaparral," and this goes, "What's an SUV? It's made to do that." Like, oh boy.
Yeah.
You're going to be here a while.
I've seen a lot of different situations. Somebody just bought a boat. And it's nice, and they're like, "Yeah, but I don't know what I'm doing." Well, I've been there. I bought a boat.
Well, that, and when they shore
first time you buy a boat, and
they'll shore the boat on the cement ramp while they go get their car, and you're going, "Oh boy."
Yeah.
Oh.
Right.
But
yeah. Well, is there anything you want to plug or anything you want to?
No. You can got some motor work to do on my motor.
Okay.
Get it going. So.
Yeah, that's no problem.
Yeah. No, I
So
enjoyed it.
like right now, it's crazy because you think, oh, it's slow top, man. I already got pages, and it's like, man, I'm one guy. I'm not like, the dealer over here. He's got several guys working for him. It's like, man. And then I got some that are like big projects, where they want like a build. I just did a couple of helix and a network, and I put, like a transducer shield and saver on the back, and trees, and like it's a brand new trolling motor. It's like, wow, But then I've run the gamut too, where guys don't have a lot of money, and they're just trying to get out there and enjoy.
Yeah, and we're not trying to discourage people from. Well, Jeff don't have time. It's just, if we have time, we'll help you. But at the same time, there's other people around that could help you out. Like there's VNO that will.
Well, that's the great thing about.
We'll refer you to some, and whoever we refer you to for anything, they're going to be good at it.
Right.
We just don't. Well, there's a new kid starting out over here. Says, well, I'm not going to refer you till I know he does an adequate job.
Yeah.
It's just.
Well, that's the same here. You have to.
Yeah.
I mean, you just have to.
Just because you're new doesn't mean you're good. I mean.
There's so many levels to this.
Yeah.
That really you just got to start. I have one customer, and like his son is really into it, and he's a teenager. And he's like, what do I do? I'm like, well, first thing you do, you don't go down there and buy him a brand new boat. Because he's going to take it out and he's going to tear the crap out of it,
Yeah.
Go get him an old one. And then, he'll learn as he goes. And then, and he'll figure it out. And he's already
new is not always better.
Right. He's already like learning. This one's learning that, I need some electronics. So he got some electronics. You can go out, you can buy used stuff. You don't have to go buy the brand new, greatest, latest. You can't afford it if you're 16.
No.
You don't have the money to go out and spend $25,000 on electronics.
No.
Or 15. But you can go and you can get a little 5-inch graph, and you start learning and exploring that, and just go fishing and don't care.
Yeah.
Just go out there and try to figure it out. That's really what I would say.
Yep.
I told this kid what my dad told me, and he said, you always go out there and you always tie a worm on and a spinnerbait. If you're bass fishing, bluegill, even still, you do little baits, little spinnerbaits, little white spinnerbaits. A little bitty worm or a big worm, because eventually they're going to bite either one of those.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, so, but you just got to go out and have fun. I mean, it's really like if you are a fisher, like if you started young as a fisherman, they'll be a fisherman for life.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? They'll bring more people to that enjoyment. It'll just make you a better human being, period.
Yeah. You just get outside.
Yeah.
It's called fishing, not catching. It's not bassing. It's not crappie. It's learn to catch fish, learn the different species.
Yeah, and like everybody goes out in the spring, because it's like, oh, I go fishing, it's real nice. But there's so much more to fishing than that.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I say, right now is when you can go out and catch the absolute giant.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't think it, but it is. It's like on,
Yeah, because you're still in that time of year around here where, what are they biting on? You can still say anything. If you get them on the right day, you can get.
The thing is, if you think about it, the water is down. So it's less area.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're going to be bunched up in a certain location. All you got to do is find that location. And then so your chance, like when the water goes up and in the spring, they go everywhere. Yeah. So there's a lot more area that you got to cover where now you don't have to. So it's really, anyway, I want to thank you for letting me come over and
problem.
Hang out and talk. And, you know, it's, it was fun. Did you have fun?
Oh, I did. I like it. I can be us all day long. Everybody that knows me knows that.
I'm kind of the same way.
Hey, you came into my shop, you're gonna have to leave. So. That's how you shoot them out the door. You just don't shut up.
Yeah, it's true.
Until you get someone that can match you. And, well, it's gonna be a long day.
Oh yeah.
My wife, what'd you get done
I
today?
definitely don't know at all.
2 visitors.
I enjoy it. I really do. I enjoy working on stuff, but I also enjoy being out there and I like going different places too, because like, you know, you might get stuck on your one little lake. Don't do that. Go up to Old Hickory and figure out that, man, there's nowhere to pee. Like I got a house right there, you know, I'm afraid somebody's little girl's looking at me and I gotta pee bad, you know?
Yep.
Or go to Center Hill or go to, you know, Cordell Hall, Normandy, Tim's Ford.
Yeah.
You know, you got Kentucky Lake is like an ocean.
Yeah, there's.
You know, like literally, it's humongous.
Yeah, and just don't let that intimidate you. Well,
Right.
I don't want to go up there. I don't know where to go. What I'm doing is just call.
Yeah, just
Call
go.
up there.
Yeah, and most of those places where you go, stop at places like he has, because they'll give you a little bit of knowledge about that area. You know, they'll tell you. I stopped in a Kentucky Lake one time, and I was like looking at it. It's just a little bitty, you know, gas station store, whatever. But I was intrigued because they had this one jig, and he goes, "Well, that's kind of that's what everybody throws around here." I'm like, "Really?" I was like, "Well, that'd probably work on my lake."
Yeah.
So then I bought like 10 of those. You know, the guy kind of looking at me funny, but it was. And then sure enough, I took it out there, pitching that jig, and I was hammering.
Yeah.
And before that, I was pitching jigs and I wasn't getting any bites. And I learned something, you know. And so you can do the same thing. And anyway, like he said, I'll talk all day.
Yeah. Follow us on Facebook, Finn's Tackle Shop, Instagram, all that good stuff.
Yeah, tell them where you're located.
We're right off Bell Road, right across from the dam, exit 219. You can't miss us. There's a food line right here, right across from
off of I-40.
Yep, off of I-40, right where Stewart's Ferry turns into Bell Road, and vice versa, right there. Then one of the things that we have here is we have our own clothing line here. If you're ever wearing Finn's gear, you always get 10% off.
Oh, that's cool.
For life. No matter what you get, 10% off just for wearing my stuff.
That's cool. That's a good idea.
Yeah. And I don't count the minnows 12. You're going to get a little more than 12. I'm not one of those that, 1, 2. No, it's because you can always tell if someone's from up north. Give me a scoop. Well, a scoop's about 2 dozen down here.
Yeah.
All right, so should I get 2? I just get 1. You'll probably end up getting 2 anyway because I don't count. I'm not one of those skimpy people that will. Now, if my guy is late today with my bait, I might give you 1.5 dozen or 12.
Right.
But that never happens. So.
Yeah.
But no.
You pretty much have all that regularly, like available, ready to go.
I get all my live bait out of Salina, out of Paul J&L up there. He goes to Arkansas to get his shiners and so on and so forth.
I saw you had that big, and I'd never seen it like packaged like that.
The skipjack.
Yeah,
the skipjack. Yeah, I sell skipjack, cut shad head.
Well, so what
liver
is it, like a lot of the big striper guys? Do they throw that or?
No, the catfishermen do. They'll
they
chunk
do.
that up. Yep.
They'll chunk it up and then throw it out for catfish.
Sometimes they'll use the live shiners. The catfish, they can be, it's like a flathead. Flathead will eat whatever he wants to eat. So So, no, I throw all that big stuff.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of cat guys around, and they're pretty passionate about that.
And if I have big shiners too, I'll actually not sell them.
I've caught some big ones on that lake. Well, I
consider
them
for
big.
the catfishermen because I don't want to put too big of ones in my tank because they'll just bully and start killing all the smaller ones. So I'll sort them out and I'll freeze them for the catfishing too. So I sell frozen shiners, large shiners too.
Rods, reels.
Rods, reel. I carry duckets, Daiwas. I got the Mad Cats, meat hunters, Lus, Abus. Got some Dobbins coming in here, maybe some Cashins, meat hunters, Bonehead. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't go too high on my stuff. I'll carry a few of the Daiwa Tatulas and stuff and so forth, but I try to keep a lot of left-handed stuff because I'm left-handed. Because there's one thing at the big box stores is sometimes it's hard to get left-handed stuff. So I try and keep that because, maybe one
So if somebody wanted you to special order something,
yep, I can do special orders. So when I do
like something like if you wanted a high end, like you're out here.
Yeah. One thing I go through a lot is I carry the ACC crappie sticks because the big box stores around here doesn't carry ACC, and I go through a ton of them. They're nice rods for the crappie and stuff and so forth.
Long rod.
Yeah, they can go up to 8. I can even go up to 12, 14 feet, but those are kind of hard for me to get because I don't get semis to deliver my stuff, but I can get them ordered if they come in two, three pieces. But the ACCs are pretty popular. I go through a ton of those.
Yeah.
Nice rods.
Yeah, I can imagine because they're that long, and then you got to.
And they make some dock rods too that are 5'6" and they're all nice. You don't hook a smallmouth on them, but they're nice for the crappies.
And then like artificial baits.
Artificial. A lot of the, I'll carry the Bobby Garlands. I carry a ton of the Charlie Brewers, good stuff, the crappie magnets, But a lot of my crappie stuff, like B&B, we're gonna start selling them. He's a local guy, makes the jigs. Warren Brent makes the jigs. A lot of the smaller plastics, I do have the mainline stuff, but a lot of those, I go local here. People that make them local.
Yeah.
And a lot of the spinnerbaits like Thunder Rocket lures and some of the soft plastics, I kind of have a mix. I have a lot of the local. I like to carry the local stuff. So.
Okay. All right, man. Well, thank you so much,
Yeah, no problem.
I'll let you know when I get this all together.
Right.
And anyway, we're here at Finn's, and come by and just at least say hello and.
Free coffee and cookies all the time.
Tight lines.
Yeah, hook them up.